You know you should only hire when you need someone. Employees are expensive. You can do the hiring process completely by yourself. You should only recruit within the construction industry. You should hire fast, but then fire slow. And recruiting is a project that ends. I mean, once you've got someone in the door, on to the next thing. Nah. These are 6 myths about hiring that, if you embrace them, are really going to kill your ability to hire the right people and put them in the right position. And these 6 myths we explore today in my conversation with Paul Sanneman. He is the founder of Contractor Staffing Source, and he has over 40 years of experience, and he has helped 300 plus contractors hire over 1,000 employees. Paul knows what he's talking about. For the next 45 minutes, we are not only going to explode those 6 myths of hiring, but we are going to articulate a clear, concise recruiting process that, if you adhere to it, will increase the percentage of good hires in your organization right away. If you're driving, you're going to want to re-listen to this when you're not driving and take careful notes. You're going to want to check out the show notes. And you're going to want to listen very carefully, because I know for each person listening to this show today, recruiting and hiring is a tremendous challenge. And this episode will help you with that challenge. So enough of the talk. Let's dive right in. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Paul, welcome to Construction Genius.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on, because you're an expert when it comes to recruiting and hiring the most talented people into your organization. And, obviously in the world of construction, my clients, people who are listening to the show, they get hit up every single day by people who say, I will recruit your most talented people and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
There's just a ton of people out there doing it. However, there's something different about you, Paul, and I'd like you to tell the audience a little bit about your background and why it is that they should tune in for the next few minutes and listen to our discussion on hiring and recruiting.
Okay. Well, I've been in this industry for 40 years. Makes me an old guy, right? I worked with 2,000 or 3,000 companies over those 40 years. I think 150,000 hours, some crazy number in doing this, right? And so during that time, I've learned a lot about what works and doesn't work in construction. And I've taken a lot of companies from 2 million to like 50 million. I've done that over and over again. And actually, I got into recruiting, I would say sort of by accident, because what happened was I was getting companies, I could grow the company, but the problem was they couldn't find the people. And so if you grow a company from 1 to 15 million and they can't find the people, it doesn't do any good. So I said, okay, how hard can this be? So I went out, I did some research and found the best practices on how to hire good people. And it included applicant tracking systems, assessments, the whole thing. And I gave it to my clients and they screwed it up. Didn't have the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally started with a guy in my garage and said, look, why don't you just recruit for my clients and use all the stuff I found for them? That was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Now I have like 30 some people on the team. I have any given day, 400 or 500 job ads posted. We go through 2,000 or 3,000 resumes a week. And the last couple thousand people we hired, 90% of them worked out.
Okay.
So I think that gives me, I've learned how to do this.
No, that's great. In other words, there is a method to the madness, right? Because it seems like a lot of people, they just hire on gut instinct. They hire in hope. They hire based on a resume.
Right.
Why don't you dive in? I know you've identified what you call 6 myths of hiring.
Yeah, this is what gets in people's way. They have this mindset which prevents them doing a job. Now, admittedly, it is not an easy thing to do. And I'd use the analogy, I'm using a backhoe and they're using a shovel. I guarantee I'll win. Because it's just, you've got to use technology, you've got to use current techniques, or it's just really hard. So the first myth, and this is a big one, only hire when you need somebody. Classic, right? So what happens is they need a guy and then they run an ad, throw an ad Indeed or wherever they're going to put it. They get some resumes. They call them back a week later. They pick the best warm body that they can find that looks like can do the job and they hire. It doesn't work. The bottom line, it just doesn't work. The reality is you should be recruiting all the time. Never stop. That's reality. But unfortunately, a lot of contractors have this mentality, only recruit when you need somebody. So
Right.
that's the first thing they have to get over.
Okay. Can I ask a question about that though?
Sure.
So let's say I'm recruiting all the time, which is tremendous advice, and I stumble across someone who perhaps I don't need right now, but I see their talent, and now I'm left with a dilemma. Do I increase my overhead when I don't have an immediate need? Or do I throw that to the side and say, regardless of the increase in overhead, because of this person's talent, I'm going to bring them on board?
It depends on the circumstances. I'll give you an example where it makes sense.
Okay.
If you're a construction company, right? And you don't need a project manager. You got 5 project managers, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Project manager shows up. He knows all the architects in town. He has a bunch of subs that work for him. He's leaving one of your competitors for some good reason. Would you hire him or not? I mean, come on. Stupid. It's like a no-brainer, right?
Yep.
Because the guy is going to bring resources with him that make sense. So you'd obviously hire him.
So hold on a second. This is interesting because what you're doing there is you're not just hiring from the example you gave. It's not just technical skill that you're hiring them for, but also the network of people that they know.
It's the resources they bring with them.
Okay.
Right. And so if the resources make sense, it's a great investment to hire this guy. Right. Now, on the other hand, if you've got 50 carpenters and you got more carpenters than you need and more work than they can do, then what you do is put the carpenter on the bench. Or the other look at it, Eric, is there's always the bottom 10%.
That's right.
I can't think of either a sports team analogy. There isn't any sports team that isn't always recruiting, always, right? They're always scouting.
Yep.
Because they're always trying to make the team better. In construction, you're only as good as your team. The biggest asset I think a contractor has is his ability to build teams. I use the example, Elon Musk is like one of the richest guys in the world, not because he's smart. Otherwise, they'd just be teaching at MIT. He knows how to build teams. And so that skill of building teams is going to make you a great company. And if you're building a team, you're always recruiting. You're always trying to make people better. And that's something that you always do. You don't stop. And you build a bench like any team. And when somebody's not cutting it, you replace it. That's why you should always be recruiting.
Excellent. So that's the first myth, only hire when you need someone. And the counter to that myth is you should always be recruiting.
Right.
What's the second one?
Second one is employees are expensive. Heard this a lot of times. They go, oh, you know what that guy's going to cost me? Oh my God, right? Well, you can't make any money without employees.
Yeah.
They're the best asset you've got.
Yes.
What happens sometimes in recruiting is they haven't kept up with the appropriate compensation for their people. And then they're paying their project manager $110,000 a year and the market's $125,000.
Yes.
For the same guy. So it forces them to look at, oh my God, I'm underpaying all my people. They don't want to deal with it. But the problem is if you're not paying what you should be paying your people, they'll go find a job someplace else. So employees are not expensive.
Okay, let me ask you a question about that then. When I'm recruiting, let's say I bring on someone who is a good player and I'm paying at market rate or above market rate in some cases. How do I handle that internally when other people in the company find out what they're getting paid versus what this new person is getting paid?
You're not going to like this, Eric, but you're going to have to. You have to keep your compensation leveled up. If you're going to be competitive in the labor market, you want people to leave. It's not a good use of. You're not saving money by not paying what people should be paid. It'll cost you in the long run. So you should keep your compensation to your employees at market value.
Excellent.
And it's easy to find that, Eric. Eric, all you should do is go on Monster, Glassdoor, and you pick one and say, what does a project manager in New York make for doing X? Like you're looking for a job, and you'll find out what you have to pay the person to get somebody. It's easy to find out. It's not hard.
Is there ever a case when a company can say, okay, I understand that they're making 110 and you're making 100, but we have quote unquote work-life balance, our culture is awesome. And that's in our mind, that's worth the 10 grand or whatever number there is there.
Good luck with that. It's not realistic, because that means to be empathize. Would you do that? And if someone said, I know I'm underpaying you by $10,000 a year, but trust me, we're good to work for.
Right.
That's not going to go really far.
Right.
So you got to level up when it comes to compensation, because employees aren't expensive. And if you can't pay for your employees, you need to charge more money. Then your margins aren't right.
That's interesting, huh? Okay, so first myth, only hire when you need someone. Second myth, employees are expensive. Let's hit us with the third.
We can do it ourselves.
What does that mean?
That means, Eric, do your own taxes, fix your own car. No.
Yeah.
I like the car example. To fix a car today, what do you need? You need a damn computer.
Yep.
Right? Without a computer, you can't tell what's wrong. If you're going to try to do it yourself, it's really a bad choice of funds, because you're not going to save money. That's why I'm into this industry, because there are people who are way better at it than you are. And if they're doing a good job, they're well worth what you're going to pay them. So doing it yourself is not a good idea in most cases, unless you're two guys in a truck and can't afford anything. But it took me 4 or 5 years to figure out how to do it right? I got 30 employees to figure it out. Another thing is, I give you an example. When we have a client, they have like 5 people on their team. They have a pipeline scanner, assistant pipeline scanner, account manager. It helps get the people to do the things, to do the assessments and stuff. And then they have somebody meets with them every week. It's a team, right? And what you do is tell your office manager, hey, add an Indeed and tell me who shows up. Not a good idea.
Okay. So we can do it ourselves is number 3. What's number 4?
Recruit within the construction industry. I can't tell you people come to me and go, Paul, we want a production manager. He's got to have, 8 years experience in production. I need an office manager. I'm not going to take anybody without construction experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a mistake. Who they are is way more important than what they know.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. The pandemic really brought this out a lot. Let's say you're looking for an office manager, selections coordinator, somebody like that. Well, consider a wedding planner, right? Now, what skills does a wedding planner have? You've got a bunch of marginally responsible people. Maybe that sounds better than flaky. Like the band, right?
Right.
The venue, the caterer, the flower person, all of these people, these various subcontractors need to show up at the right place at the right time and charge the right price. And then who's supposed to be happy? The bride, the bridesmaid, blah, blah, blah. So all these people have to be happy and the event has to work, right? So all these marginally responsible people need to show up at the right place at the right time. It's got to look great. It's got to come off amazing and everybody needs to be happy. Sounds like a construction project to me.
With a very demanding owner.
Right. Right. It's the same thing. So if a person has those skill sets, they're easily transferable. And the good news is, Eric, the hospitality industry doesn't pay near as well as the construction industry. So you can find talent in other industries. I've had people that run hotels and all of a sudden they can run offices, no problem.
Yep.
So when you put an ad out there, Eric, say construction experience preferred, but not required.
So that requires you, though, as you're going through the process, to be able to make those analogies, to draw those analogies between what it is that you do and what people do in other industries that are analogous or related. Right. Yeah, it's very important to be able to think that way. So get out of your construction mindset at times. Right. And through that, you can maybe find some talent.
Who people are is way more important than what they know.
Mm-hmm.
We have an whole assessment process we go through. If you've got a really smart person who has attention to detail, is a really good person, construction's not that hard to learn. No offense. It's and if you're familiar with other software, they can learn, construction management software. An Excel spreadsheet's an Excel spreadsheet. Accounting's accounting. And so the skills are transferable, but the minute you say they have to have a construction experience, you've eliminated 95% of the people that could apply.
So then it's interesting, though, because who they are is important. So let's say they had those analogous skills, but let's say you have someone who's a project manager or someone even, let's just stick with the project manager for a moment. And they go out into the field, they start interacting with the guys and gals out there, and those people know immediately that they don't have construction experience. So how do you handle that dynamic?
Well, you have to get that person up to speed.
Right.
The onboarding process is going to be different for somebody who has construction experience than who doesn't have construction experience. So you design the onboarding experience. You can go to ChatGPT and just say, I have a person that doesn't have this experience. This is my company, blah, blah, blah. And we'll tell you a whole onboarding process. It's really smart.
Yeah.
So the onboarding process is different, but I'd rather have a quality person that doesn't have all the knowledge necessarily than a person who's not a quality person, but happens to know the construction. No contest.
It's interesting. You mentioned ChatGPT, and I just want to put a plug in here for this idea of recruiting outside of the construction industry, is that if you can clearly identify the aspects of the role for the position that you're hiring, put that into ChatGPT and ask it, what are some analogous industries that have these kinds of skills? And it'll spit out a whole bunch, and then you can look at it and
then you can say, how do I get a hold of these people?
There you go.
Say, I did an example the other day, write the job ad, write the job description, write the key performance indicators. Where should I place it? How should I call them? And outline the whole, it's really good. It outlines the entire process.
Yep.
The issue is, and I'll get into this later, it's way more work than most people are willing to do.
What's way more work?
Finding people.
Yes.
That's the issue. Now, the next myth, which gets people in a lot of trouble, is hire fast, fire slow. What happens is they hire somebody because they need the person. They are recruiting all the time. Back to the first one, right? So they take who shows up, and then they hire this. They got to hire fast because they haven't got any choice. They got a project coming up. They got nobody to do it. The project manager quit. They're screwed. They got to find somebody. They hire fast. That's bad. Firing slow is worse.
Yes, it is.
What you get is the world's worst employee. Not bad enough to fire, good enough to keep. They suck. So you hire somebody. Spend years building this culture, right? Honesty, integrity, all this kind of stuff. You bring on the guy or girl. Oh, well, you were desperate. They only steal occasionally, right? I took the nail gun home because it looked like they didn't need it, right? So they only steal occasionally. They only lie once in a while. They'll probably lie once in a while. You can't trust them. You never know, when the once in a while is. They only lie 10% of the time, wins at 10%. And they show up late because that's just who they are. Now, what is that message it's sending to the rest of your team? Oh, we've lowered the standards in our company. Cool. I can lie, I can steal, and I can show up late and it's still good. So if you're a really quality person, you'll quit and go find another company. If you're not a quality person, you'll just follow the lead and show up late and lie and steal stuff. And it kills organizations. People have no idea how much one not good person that doesn't match their corporate values can destroy the culture within our organization.
Yep. It's interesting then. So that's one of the deepest challenges that people have, is that they do fire slow. But then the answer to that is, Paul, if we're going to use the sports analogy, I have these games on my schedule. I have to field 11 players every time I play the game. And so I'm going to tolerate this underperformer because I have no other choice.
Well, if you're a sports team, I guarantee you've got a bench. I guarantee you've got first string, second string, and third string, and you'll make it work. Because there's no team that's playing in any professional sport that doesn't have a bench. So you won't tolerate it. You're done, right?
But that then means that I'm always recruiting then, so that I've got that bench built out.
Recruiting.
Yep.
And another reason you're always recruiting, it avoids what I call raised by blackmail, which is a corporate culture thing.
Mm-hmm.
So a project manager comes to you, just started this big project. He's building, an office building, where he's building. And you're paying him, pick a number, $140,000 a year. Comes to you and says, you know what? It's not me, it's my wife.
Yeah.
She says, unless I get a $5 an hour raise, I'm going to have to go work for this other guy because he called me yesterday and I really love you. You're a great guy, but it's my wife. Unless I get X more dollars an hour, I'm going to have to leave. So the worst case scenario is you go, okay, fine. Because you need the guy, right?
Right.
Now, what does that tell everybody in your company how to get a raise?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if you want to get a raise, just go blackmail the boss. No problem. What does that actually cost you? It's huge.
So let me ask you about that then, because, and one of my clients had this scenario just recently where they have this good target person. They're negotiating, they're recruiting them, they're negotiating an agreement. And then all of a sudden, the person takes the agreement and just leverages that with their former employer or their current employer to get a raise. So how do I know I'm getting played in the recruiting process and someone's just using me for leverage?
The answer is you don't.
Okay.
But if it's that kind of person, you probably don't want them anyway.
That's right.
They're probably not a good culture fit.
Yep.
Because that means that they come to work for you, they're going to always be looking for another job to get more money.
Right. Okay. So the 5 myths so far: only hire when you need someone. Employees are expensive. We can do it ourselves. Recruit within the construction industry. Hire fast, fire slow. Hit us with the 6th myth.
Okay. Recruiting is a project that ends. I was a little in the first one.
Yep.
Most people that became contractors have a mindset. Something has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Right. So every process, if you are a hammer, everything is a nail. Right. And so if you believe everything is a project, you're going to treat recruiting just like a project. I need a project manager. I will find a project manager. I will hire a project manager. I am done.
Yep.
Recruiting is not a project. It is a process. It's much like marketing. It's like accounting. It's like, managing jobs. It's a process. It isn't a project. And you cannot take project mentality and put it into recruiting, because then the first one you just recruit and then you're done, because it's a project. And it's hard to get away from that mental process, because that's most contractors, they have a sense of urgency. That's part of what makes them who they are. And they also just, they look at everything as a project.
Yes.
And recruiting is just another project.
Yes. All right. This is all killer, no filler with Paul here today. And quick break just to remind you about my book, Construction Genius: Effective, Hands-On, Practical, Simple, No BS. Leadership, strategy, sales, and marketing advice for construction companies. You might wonder, where did you get that subtitle, Eric? I'll tell you where I got it from. I was asking one of my clients who went through a leadership course of mine, what do you like best about my course? You know what he said? He said, Eric, your stuff is effective, hands-on, practical, simple, and no BS. So I thought, ding, 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 that's the subtitle for my book. Now, what you should do is go out to Amazon and purchase 10 or more copies of this book. And then when you purchase 10 or more, which will cost you about $200 if you buy the paperback, you shoot me an email at Eric@ConstructionGenius. You say, Eric, I purchased 10 copies of your book. I will respond with a big thank you and an offer. And this is the offer. I will come in for 1 hour via Zoom with your team to do a Q&A on the book, and then also do a bonus training session for your team from the book. And that is something that would cost you $3,500 if I was to do that for an hour without you buying the book, but just because you purchased those 10 copies. And as a big thank you to you, you invest $200, get $3,500 of value, if not more, and we'll have a tremendous time both answering any questions your team has from the book and doing some training. So go out to Amazon, purchase the book right now. You can click the link in the show notes to get out to Amazon to the book. And now let's get back to the conversation with Paul. So let me ask you about that then. When it comes to recruiting, at what point of the company, what position in the company hierarchy should the main locus of responsibility for recruiting rest?
Well, it depends on how big the company is, right? If you've got 100 employees, you've got an HR manager and people who do that kind of stuff. If you've got 10 employees, you probably assigned it to your, office man. So it depends. You should always involve the people in the process that are going to work with the person. Like in bigger companies, if we're going to hire a superintendent, we involve the project manager, we involve the HR person, the owner. People that are going to work with that person need to be involved, because there's got to be, you can't hire somebody, like say your HR person hires a superintendent for a project manager, and they say, okay, here's your new superintendent. And the project manager had no participation in that. They're not going to take responsibility to make it work. If it doesn't work, it's not my problem. The HR person hired the wrong guy.
Yep. Okay.
So now I'm going to go into how to do this right.
How to do what right?
Recruit.
Okay, so the recruiting process, we've got the 6 myths out of the way. Just to reiterate, just so people know, only hire when you need someone. Employees are expensive. We can do it ourselves. recruit within the construction industry, hire fast, fire slow, and then recruiting is a project that ends. Those are the 6 myths.
Those
We've
are
talked
6
about the
myths.
counters to those myths. Now we're going into the actual recruiting process.
Right.
How many steps do we have here?
I'm guessing there's about 6 or 7. I don't know. We'll go through and count them, all right?
Let's do it.
First one, the art of the job ad. A job, it's an ad. It's not a job description. Just like when you write an ad, you want somebody to buy your stuff, right? You make emotional appeal. You appeal to a need. It's like writing any other kind of an ad. It is not a job description.
Let me ask you, stop right there. Hold on. When I'm writing this ad, who should I be thinking about when I write this ad? Who should I be writing the ad to?
The person who you want to hire.
So I shouldn't just be blabbing on about how awesome my company is.
No. You should say, are you underappreciated and underpaid?
Oh, wait. So you should address pain right out of the gate in your ad. Is that what you're saying?
It depends. I mean, AI is really good at this, right?
Okay.
So you go to ChatGPT and say, I want somebody to quit who they're working for and come to work for me.
Yep.
I'm looking for a project manager. I'm in Cincinnati. I'm a $25 million commercial construction company. The more information you give it, the better it's going to be. In fact, I found out today, it sort of diverges a little bit, Eric, but if you put 1,000 pages into ChatGPT about your company, everything you've ever done, everything in there, and you say, write my social media posts for the week, it does an awesome job.
Yes.
So It's the same thing with AI is really good at this stuff, way better than we are, right?
Yep.
So you tell it the problem, then you say you're a copywriter, you're really good at what you do, you tell it who it is. It's all about the prompt, right?
Yes.
So you give it all the information so it knows who you are. You tell it it's the world's best copywriter, and I need to write an ad to get somebody to quit their job and come to work for me. And you just start, it'll write it for you. You start looking at those and find out stuff that you think is appropriate. And that's how you write your ad.
Okay. So let me make another suggestion here. And that is to interview the people who work for you, who made a switch from one company to another, and then ask them why they made that switch.
Right. And then I would also put that all into AI. Because the more information AI has, the better job it's going to do.
Yep. And I really want to make an emphasis here. I'm so glad you bring this up, Paul. The use case of AI that we're describing here is completely legitimate and awesome. And you should really be thinking about this. Don't let your eyes glaze over. If you're the CEO of your company and you don't have quote unquote time to do this, which is fine, then you need to find someone in your organization and task them with this, because it's going to help them with their creativity and the quality of the stuff that you're doing. And the key to AI, just like Paul was saying, is that it's the quality of your prompts and then the intelligence of the people reading the responses and their ability to filter out stuff that is not accurate and keep the stuff that's good.
Right. And give it enough. You can't give it too much information about your company, because the more it knows, the smarter it is.
Yes.
And it's a great tool.
Yes.
So that's how I suggest you write a job ad. All right.
Okay.
Next, you can do the same thing with AI. Where should I post this ad? It will tell you. It will list 10 different job boards, local, wherever it needs to be. There's probably, the last time I did this on ChatGPT, I think I got 20 places to put the ad.
Yep.
All right. So you got to post it everywhere, not in one place, everywhere. Yep. Okay. And it'll tell you. Now, if you don't have good software, this could take you hours. It takes me like 4 seconds because I have an applicant tracking system that automates all of that stuff. Hit one button, it goes to 100 job boards, LinkedIn, Facebook, goes everywhere on the planet it needs to go in real time, post the ad, and I'm done. That's what applicant tracking systems do. So if you do that right, if you have to do it yourself, you're going to go post it in 40 places. It's going to take a week, right? You don't even know what you don't know. So it's got to go everywhere in real time. Now, the next one, Eric, is the hardest one to do.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the most important. You ready for this one? When someone applies to your ad, respond within 5 to 10 seconds, maybe a minute. Now, that's not easy, right? We go through the last 1,000 people we hired, we went through 280,000 applications. We average 300 applications or about per every person we place. We get back to all those people in real time. So picture somebody going down Indeed, and there's 10 positions for project manager, right? They're going to go apply, 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 apply. Just like if someone's looking for a contractor, to redo their building, they're going to go down Google, call, 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 call. You don't answer the phone, you're screwed, right? They're not going to wait. The shelf life is about 45 seconds these days, all right? In recruiting, it's the same thing. We get back to people in real time. The minute they apply, we go, thank you for applying, and we do this whole thing. We do it because we got a whole bunch of people doing that. We got a whole bunch of AI pulling it off. So we respond in real time. This is very difficult for your average contractor to do, but it is crucial because the shelf life of a good applicant is very short.
Okay, so explain in detail why that's so important. The 5 to 10. You said 5 to 10 seconds, and
Let's
immediately
say a minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes in real time. The thing is, let's say, Eric, you're looking for a new job. What kind of job? We just say we're going to find. What kind of job would you look for? Just pick one.
I have no idea. I'm unemployable.
You're unemployable. So let's say you're a project manager, right? And you're working in, I don't know, Chicago. And your boss pissed you off that day, and you go to Indeed and you look for commercial project manager, does whatever you want to call it, office buildings, residential, whatever, in Chicago. There are 20 people looking, right? Or 15. Anyway, you're going to go down and you're going to hit apply, 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 right? I mean, that's what we all do, right? Now, you applied for 5 or 6 jobs. Only one person got back to you in real time, right? They said, thank you for applying. What impression does it make to you about that company now?
Absolutely.
It's just like when you're calling, it's a bad analogy, but I remember my Tesla broke, or it didn't work. Finally, I called somebody to fix it. I went to my car phone. I had to call 6 people before I ever got somebody on the phone.
Yep.
And the guy got on the phone was a call sitter in Chicago or somewhere.
Yep.
But at least he answered the phone, right? And they had somebody out like in 30 minutes because they were better at that. And this is, what's happening in construction, and this is going to diverge for a second about that, is a giant consolidation. People that are good at what they do will win. And for example, I'm going to use the Walmart analogy, right? Walmart basically sucked a lot of the people out of downtown businesses out to Walmart because they were cheaper, better, and faster, right?
Yep. And
so the same thing happened. So if you don't get into technology, whether it's recruiting or marketing, whatever, with the consolidation, what's happening in the construction industry, really smart people with a lot of money are now moving to construction because it's not going to be disrupted as much by AI. Make sense?
Yep.
So what's happening now, there's a guy, I read an article, he was going to open an $800 million movie studio. He saw, Sora and ChatGPT and said, I'm done. Not going to open that studio. Blockbuster movies get made with 5 guys and a computer, right? You don't need sets and all that kind of stuff. It's all going away, right? So what industry is not going to be disrupted by AI? It's construction.
That's right.
And so all this capital is moving into construction. And they're really smart. And they got a lot of money. And if you don't have your marketing and recruiting and how to run a business act together, where there was 20 construction companies, there's going to be 3 that are really good at it. And so that's why we're talking about here, use the tools available. So when you're going to respond to a company that's going to get back in real time because you think they're better. It's a use of technology, right? I'll get the employee and you won't because I'm better at it than you are. Okay? Respond in real time.
Next one
is selection process. Screen the candidates with assessments. I have learned that the hard way. We have some of the best assessments, I think, around on how to assess people. I can tell you how smart they are. I can tell you if they work at the job. I can tell you their values. I can tell you more about you than your mom. If you'll take my assessment, it takes about an hour and 20 minutes.
Which ones do you use?
We have one, I think it's from Discover ATS. It's actually proprietary. We have a lot of them, so these are ours, right? But there's a lot of them out there. Okay.
Let me ask you this. Are those assessments useful just for recruiting, or would they be useful? Let's say you haven't run them on the people in your company and you want to do team building.
See, what I do, my assessment has a predictive, disc profile is there?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. We have a predictive disc profile in ours, which means we've done thousands of these. We know what a good project or project manager disc profile looks like. It measures like 50 different things. And so attention to detail.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me just ask you, because I know people on the listening to this will be familiar with DISC. Give us the I'm going to guess. Let me guess. A good project manager is C and then SDI. That's my guess.
It depends. Like salesmen are high Ds, right?
But they're also high Is.
High Is, right?
In many cases.
So the thing is, we measure like our DISC assessment has like 30 or 40, 50. There's a lot. It's not just
sure.
So,
yeah.
And we have all these bars. So we know after they've taken our assessment, we know they have the right personality to do the job, which is critical. We have an integrity thing, which tells, are they honest? Are they trustworthy? There's a whole way of measuring people's ethics.
Right.
And we measure all those. If their values don't match the values of the company, you are screwed. And the problem is that's really hard to tell in an interview. So the assessment lets us know, do your values match their values?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell, I said one of the questions we ask, and you'll find it. I'm going to ask you this year. Okay, here's a question for you. Let's say that you're a project manager, you got your project.
Mm-hmm.
The boss tells you to tell the client that the product will be delivered in 2 weeks. Okay.
Right.
You know it's 4 weeks. The boss knows it's 4 weeks. Everybody knows it's 4 weeks, but the client. Now, are you going to lie to the client and support the boss, or are you going to tell the truth? What would you do?
If the client asked me a direct question about the timeline, then I would give them a direct answer about the timeline.
Okay. So those are the kind of questions you ask people to get it makes sense, get who they are as a person.
Yep.
And you can't tell that in an interview.
Right.
So the assessments allow us to do that. We measure attention to detail. We have this whole attention to detail thing. We have a thing about, discernment, intelligence, ability to apply that intelligence. Well, we don't. So before we hire anybody, we know from our assessment process that they have the knowledge, the skills, the ability, the integrity, everything they need to do the job.
Let me ask you this. Do your assessments, can they discern when someone's lying on the assessment?
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
They're really good at that.
Yeah. How does that happen?
You ask the same question 20 different ways.
Okay.
If they're not consistent, you lose. Because one of the first part of the assessments is, did they lie on the assessment?
No, it's because that's what people are thinking, right? I mean, assessments. Yeah, I know that. People game those assessments all the time.
AI is getting really smart, Eric. We use a lot of AI. It knows if you're lying or not, and so that assessment process is critical because that's the last couple thousand people we hired, 90% of them worked out, and I think that's one of the reasons, right?
Yep.
You don't miss. So if you're going to do this, you got to have an assessment you believe in. And that works for your industry, so you can pretty much tell whether this person is going to work out even before you talk to them.
So let me ask you about that 90%. When you say 90% worked out, what does that mean?
That means out of the last couple thousand people we hired, from our research, 90% of them are still on the job or staying on the job.
Okay.
And the client's happy and they're happy.
Okay. So so they've been on the job longer than, let's say, a year or what?
A year or something like that. I mean, well, you go only 5 years, so long go back. So but right. If you make a match, it's sort of like a dating service, right?
Sure.
I mean, the person has to like the job and they have to like the company. And the company has to like the person. Well, we're really good at doing that because you have to assess both sides. You got to assess the company, you got to assess the person, you got to prove this is a good match. That is something that most companies just don't have the time to do or the resources to do.
Right.
That's why they're 50% of the people don't work out. All right. So now there's some things you can't tell on an assessment, Eric. How old are you? What do you look like? How's your English? Right. So we do a video assessment for everybody. The video assessment has a list of questions that's designed for that position, that job, and that company. And on the video assessment, we can find out everything we didn't find out in the other one. So in the video interview, you ask all these questions and they do it on their phone, they do it on the computer, and we can find out, what they look like, what their attitude is, if they're healthy, all the things we can't find out on the assessment.
Yeah.
All right. So we do the video interview. So do those. Next, check references. We always check all the references. Make sure you check references. The next is do background checks. It's really easy to tell about somebody's entire life these days.
Let me go back. Hold on.
Months.
Let me go back to the references. How do you know someone is blowing smoke on a reference check?
You really don't. But if you do 5 or 6 of them, the chances are they're all not going to lie.
Okay.
So you do reference checks. We also automate that. And we do background checks. So if you do all that stuff, if we do it really quickly,
Sure.
if you write a killer job ad, right?
Mm-hmm.
You post it everywhere on the planet that it needs to be. You respond in real time. You have an amazing assessment, so you know more about them than their mom. You add a video interview to that so you can actually see them, interact with them, and see, what's going on with them. You do reference checks and background checks. The chances are the guy or lady is going to work out.
Yep.
My experience is most contractors don't do all this stuff.
Yep.
And like we can do it for $1,500 a month, and you can't come close because we use a lot of offshore labor and get amazing people. I mean, I think about offshore labor. When I discovered offshore labor, I went, oh my God, right? Have you ever used it at all, Eric?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can find somebody, my favorite places now is I can find somebody with a degree in engineering, kills it. We have to go through 300 or 400 to get one, but our assessment, they're intelligent, they're smart, their English is perfect. They just kill it. And they're $5 an hour and they're happy because they're making an hour before.
Yeah.
And so we use a lot of that because it allows us to do an amazing job for less money, and a lot of artificial intelligence because it also helps leverage all that. So it depends on the resources you're using. So I would say, if you want to do it yourself, please follow these steps. You want to be successful.
Excellent. Excellent. Tell us a little bit more about your company then and how people can get in touch with you.
Okay. Well, it's contractorstaffingsource.com. And you could just go to the website, book an appointment with me, and it goes through, how we do it, our, process, all kind of stuff's there. You can, my personal email is paulsanneman.com. And my cell phone, I'll give it to you. I'm in Hawaii, so don't call me 2 a.m. It's 415-599-9006. So if you're having a problem recruiting, we charge about $1,500 a month. People sign up for a year. That's like $17,000 a year. We'll do up to 5 positions for that. So basically, I can solve your recruiting problems for $17,000 a year and build you a great team. You should look at that as an expense, build it in your budget, like a marketing budget, because if you have great people, which we can produce, and you have great clients, which a good marketing program produces, this is an easy industry. But to the extent you take on clients you shouldn't, and you have employees you shouldn't, then it sucks. It's hard. Now, I have a couple quick ways to tell if somebody should be let go or not. All right.
Mm-hmm.
First, if you're going to start your company over, anybody you wouldn't rehire, you should fire. Second one, this is from the guy who did Netflix. Anybody you wouldn't fight to keep, you should fire. You give them a big severance and have them go away. Last one is, anytime you get a phone call or an email and you got pit in your stomach, like, oh my God, it's John, they should probably go too. Right? Now look at your company. If you're keeping employees like that on, they're costing you way more than you think.
Yep. Let me just reiterate those. If you're going to start the company all over again, who would you start it with? And if someone is not in that group, get rid of them. If you would not fight to keep them, if they walked in the door and said, I've got an offer down the road, and you're saying to them, great, go take it, then you should get rid of them. And then that last one again, reiterate it. The pit in the stomach. The pit in the stomach.
Right. When the phone rings, right? Oh my God, it's not worth it.
Or it's like this. It's Sunday afternoon, and you got to meet with this guy or gal on Monday morning, and you feel like you're in elementary school again when you didn't want to go to school.
Right. Like, oh my God. Like, if you have a great team, you love meetings, you love people on your team, and every day is a joy because it's fun.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Well, Paul, this has been a great conversation. I know there's so many takeaways here. So this is the thing, guys, is that you've listened to this for the past 45 minutes. The question is what are you going to do about it? Because everything here that we've talked about is tremendously actionable, and none of it is rocket science. It just takes a little bit of discipline and attention on your part. So I encourage each one of you who've listened to this today to really pay attention to this and apply it. If you're struggling at all with your recruiting, a resource like Paul can tremendously help you. So take a look in the show notes to the links so that you can get in touch with him and see how he can help you out.
I appreciate you having me, Eric. It's been great.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for coming on the show today, Paul. Thank you for listening to my interview with Paul here today. Lots of great takeaways on the 6 myths of hiring and that very straightforward recruiting process. You have to use and apply this information right away. If you think you need some help, and Paul might be able to help you with your construction recruiting needs, shoot him an email, paul@paulsanneman.com, link in the show notes. Check out his website at Contractor Staffing Source. And like he said, you can call him, 415-499-9906. And test him. See if he's going to get back to you within 4 to 5 minutes. That would be pretty awesome if he did, huh? Thanks again for listening to Construction Genius. Give the show a rating or a review wherever you get your shows, and I'll catch you on the next episode.